Alrighty, thank you for that confirmation. Great. I have a question here. Let's see, saying, is it also for beginners, Jim? We will definitely go through all the steps from scratch to end. So please give it a go. I think that I'll try to do my best to, explain everything thoroughly. So if you have any questions, let me know. All right. Great. Alrighty, Jacob, we're going to start right now, actually, to be honest. So I'm going to start the record button. 1 second. Good morning. Welcome, Forex traders, to this live event, our trading and analysis room here at Admiral Markets. So glad that you could join us on the 11th of June, Tuesday, where we'll be taking a look at the charts. All right, so before we do that, I'm just going to go through this PowerPoint real quickly to explain what strategies we look at and the usual risk disclaimer. So please be aware that trading foreign exchange is considered high risk, and you might want to talk to an independent financial advisor for more information on that. Okay. Now, this video and webinar is for educational purposes only. All right. So thanks for your attention on that. So welcome once again to our live trading room, hosted by our Admiral Markets, and my name is Chris Svorcik. And we'll be looking at the markets on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays from 7:45 to 9:15 London time. All right, so we'll just take a start just quickly before the London for this month of June. Then we'll evaluate, which time, if it's a good time or not. So your feedback, as always, will be also taken into consideration. Just let me know. All right, so we didn't choose Monday, Fridays because those days are a bit slow anyhow, to be honest. So these 3 days are definitely better. All right, so you'll be watching me trade my own money, and I put an account of 2,000 euros on purpose for this session only. All right. The strategies we'll look at are a mixture of smaller time frames from 5 to 15, and I'll try to pay attention also to some longer time frames, maybe day or 4 hour, and of course some swing trades of 60 minutes. So I hope it will be an interesting balance for you all, because I know that we have different viewers with different interests and different angles they prefer. So I think and I hope it will be a nice balance. But to be honest, the main element of it all is either a breakout or maybe a price action here and a fib. All right. So the breakout is the main one, though, and that occurs when price is actually kind of exceeding a strong support or resistance level, and I think the charts work the best. And here you can see when you have a strong move down and you have a sideways correction and then a continuation, sideways correction, like in here. So the breakout is when these sideways corrections get broken, for example. No, this one went the other way around, but you know what I mean. All right. Goody good. Make sure to take a look at Admiral Markets and the social media. And these are some useful links. We'll take a look at that right now ourselves, actually, such as a trade calculator and a Forex calendar and some analysis, technical and wave analysis. All right. So we'll take a look at the calendar. And unfortunately, we do have a pound fundy. That's always a bit annoying. I feel if we want to trade it before that fundy. It's a bit of a pity, but that's always as standard 9:30 British time, which is 1 hour and 40 minutes from now. Otherwise, we don't have much, to be honest, except I think there's a press conference on the yen again today. So that's always that's definitely something that can move the market. And there's some German court ruling. I don't think it's mentioned here, but I do believe it's today and tomorrow. All right, good. Or maybe it got canceled. I don't see it here, but I am. So that's on the euro. So moving on to the charts, that's where it really gets exciting, of course. Well, let's first take a look at the pound dollar London Open trade, and then we'll move on to interpreting and analyzing, first of all, the price action of NFP and the interest rate, all right, so that we can see what kind of long-term directional, if there's any long-term directional guidance we can get out of that for the euro and pound, and then we can zoom in slowly but surely and see, if there's anything and how I'm going to trade it. So the pound dollar, for those of you who've been here more often, you know that we're going to put two vertical lines for the time element, and we're looking for a breakout of that range. And where we put those vertical lines is at between 5 and 7 a.m. British time. My charts here on our British time actually. So what we'll do is I'll zoom in just to 5, just to put these lines a bit simpler. As you know, 5 to 7 is here. That's 5, and 7 is here. And then that is the top of the range. This is the bottom of the range. Then we zoom out back to the 15-minute. And then we look at the zone. All right, the zone got broken maybe by a pip, but all right, that I think we can. Yeah, that's it's a pity, but that's okay. I think the 89 EMA looking very nice to the upside. So in this case, what we have here is basically a zone, a price zone between 155.76 and 155.89. So it's only 13 pips. And we're looking for a breakout of that zone, but not to just any direction. We are only looking for a breakout in the same direction as the trend. And we define the trend as this 89 EMA. And that is pointing up, and price is above it. So only breakouts to the upside are valid. Breakouts to the downside are counter trend, too iffy, and will be ignored and not taken. And if it's a break to the upside, then the plan would be to go long above the high, go with the stop loss below the low, and go for the highest actually level of resistance, which I wouldn't consider this necessarily the main resistance personally, although it's a top. It's only 50-minute top. Let's take a look at the 1 hour. Probably something like here would make sense, although that's a pretty big target, to be honest. Usually the top gets broken by 8 pips and you see a retracement. So I think that's what I would do. I'd probably aim for 6 pips above here, which is 156.07, which is something like a 15 pip probably, something like that, or maybe 8 pips. So, but that only is valid what I would do after London opens. That's still 7 minutes from now, and we cannot have a break of that zone before that. And it's only valid for the first hour and 5 minutes after London open. So there's a time limit there. So let's see how that plays out. So we can go back to this in 7 minutes from now. I hope this is clear. I'm sure for our viewers that have been here before that it is clear, but if you are here maybe for the first time, let me know if you have any questions. All right. Now, one thing, by the way, before we start, I wanted to ask you, when I still have all your attention and you're not bored with my voice, is it would be great if you know someone who you think that might like this trading room, if you could tell that person, it would be really appreciated. It would be cool to have people here that are, first of all, of course, interested in trading, but also I see we have a packed, pretty full house here today, but sometimes maybe there'll be a few less people. So it would be cool if you know someone anyhow that I would like to ask you a favor from me and Admiral Markets. If you think that person would like it, if you could drop a note to that person, it would be really awesome. It would help that person, and we would like it as well. So that's just a favor from my side. Let's see, we got a question. Moving averages I use a lot of fib numbers for moving averages. So this is 89, 55, 34, and 12. Well, we could change it to 13, I guess. That would be also the fib number. Because I got used to 12, but you could use 13, and they'll all be fib numbers, basically. The times for the vertical lines are 5 and 7 British time, and we're looking for 8 a.m. British time to trade it, so 1 hour after. And the horizontal lines are the top and the bottom of that price zone within those 2 hours. Alrighty. Good. So we still have a few minutes. We can do some analysis beforehand. Well, we had a massive day. I don't know if anyone, of course, saw the webinar that Toronto and I were, talking about regarding support and resistances last Thursday. And during our live session, the euro just kept on pushing and pushing and pushing, just like the pound. Massive moves. Yen as well, by the way. Was quite interesting. And yeah, we were speculating on the upside, right? It was clear that it was looking very bullish. Just everything had everything in it for that upside. It was just a question when. And the pound broke earlier on Wednesday or Thursday, as we know. The euro only on Thursday. So sometimes these fundies are needed to really push that currency. It was just a question when it would happen. And that was a massive move. And yeah, it was quite impressive. And to be honest, looking at the impulse that we've had, the momentum to the upside that we've had on both currencies, I think there's a high likelihood of continuation of that power to the upside. So I think that if we look at, for example, the week chart, we can see a pretty bullish week, first of all. Last week, pretty big candle. Small wick at the top, but not surprising after such a massive move up in a way. So I don't think that that's too much of a concern. Actually, if you look at the amounts of pips it traveled in such a short time frame, it's quite aggressive. And a break of this high of 156.80 is, again, quite likely, in my opinion. Now, the question is, how far can we go? Of course, any of these fibs to the downside will definitely become resistance. If you push the fib from here to here, that's 157.86, for example. Let's say 158-ish, and this 160.50. Those will definitely become resistance. And if you put a fib on this first up move, those would be targets. All right. So you can see the targets nicely line up with the fib retracements approximately. And my targets, how I draw them, are like 158.20 and the minus 618 at 160.80. Those are fibs. So any of these two could be, well, both will be resistance. Question is if we reach the higher level, but I think that 618 and this minus 272 target are very, very likely. And this next target, we'll have to see how price reacts if we get one more push. That's a bit, we'll have to see in the future. That's anyhow far away from here, so not that important. The move up to this 158 is I think, high probability. All right. So also, if you look just at our classical trends, you can see that we are making higher highs now. We broke this high and higher lows. Also, the weak candles are making higher highs and higher lows. So everything here is at the moment uptrend. Despite this impulse down, we are all uptrend. All right. Now, it doesn't mean that when we continue up that these will not be resistances. There's a high likelihood they will, of course. All right. Let's see, anything else? Let's move on to the day chart. You can see pretty steep move up compared to, for example, the angle of this move. And as I've been telling many people already, that this downside is definitely, this downside here where I have the green angle, green arrow, sorry, is definitely not, doesn't necessarily have to mean that we break and continue to the downside. You can definitely see a three-wave move up like this. It's exactly what happened here after double bottom, 786 fib. So moving very aggressively. So taking that into account, I wouldn't be too surprised to see something like this, to be honest, and getting to this target even now. I know it sounds for those of you who've been following the pound and its crash, it's difficult to believe we would actually retrace that high, because that's difficult to believe if you're falling that much that one day you'll actually retrace all the way that high. But looking at the pace of the move up, I think it's more pretty likely. It's a good chance, at least this one, as I said. Anything else to mention here? Well, we can, let's see, not really, I guess. Let's move on to the 4-hour chart. You can see the moving averages nicely spaced out and getting wider. The space between these moving averages is increasing, showing that price is pulling away the fastest moving average. So there's a lot of impulsiveness, a lot of power to that upside, especially even more on the pound maybe, but the euro too, of course. And you can see, especially this part, wow, massive power here. All these parts here, and just a beautiful uptrend. So the question, in my opinion, is just from where and when the uptrend will continue. So I can get rid of this fib, actually. That was the fib that we used last week to define potential resistance. Now, we did use it for the 382 and 618. We kind of stalled. No, we didn't stall at the 786. That was the euro a bit. But you can see that eventually the momentum was just so big on that bid-rate day that these didn't get any respect. All right, so we can use the same fib but the other way around now. The difficult, I think that, let's see if we fib first move up here. You can see we got a 382 bounce right to target. Does everyone see that? Right to this target. Then we got another retrace and move up, so we can fib that move up. Then here 382 fib right to the minus 1272 target. So then we can move the fib up one more leg, I think. Hey, 1 second. That's strange. Ah, all right. Don't know why it was doing that. Anyhow, I have double fibs constantly. Don't know why. Strange. There's definitely something wrong with my fibs, as they're making constantly copies of each other. That is a bit funky. Let me just delete them all. All right, that was a bit weird, but I'll do a new one now. All right, there it is. Good. So, okay, thanks, Cutoff. Is it better now? The synchronization? I hope so. So basically we have here almost a 50 fib. That could be the bouncing spot already. But all these fibs, all these levels would be supports if price would go that low. If that's the question. Now if we break this top, I'll be looking for a break of the top and a small consolidation pattern and a continuation of that small zone. So basically what I'm looking for is either a bigger move back to a fib and a bounce, or a continuation right now to break this top and then a sideways consolidation of maybe a few hours, and then again another break. Right here I'll take this breakout. All right. Something like what we had on the euro, but it just took very long before we got that breakout. One of the two. That's my preferred method, because the sooner, and why is that so? Because the sooner and closer we get to this top that I have a green circle, I'm colorblind, green circle, the more likely the closer we get, the more that top is going to act as resistance. That's always the case. It's not easy to break a top. It's not easy to break a high or low or bottom. And the closer we get, the more difficult that's going to be. So it's always better to wait for a break of the top and then try to catch a smaller consolidation and continuation if you can manage the trade intraday trading. If you are trading large time frames and you go to work, then you'll have to take an entry order and put a reasonable wide stop loss. All right. But if you are intraday trading, you can manage that and keep an eye on it. Or wait for a bigger retrace and a confirmation of a bounce with a price action signal like a 1 hour massive wick or a golfing twins or a 4 hour wick, for example. Pin bar, that's the case where we could use a pin bar, for example, nicely to our advantage, stuff like that. Right? One of the two is the preferred. Problem with right now is that we're kind of sailing in the middle of nowhere, so that's always a bit tricky. Do we get that bigger correction or do we continue up? If we move to one of these two extremes, it becomes a bit more like the chances are stacked more in our favor. This analysis is similar for the euro, basically. We can take a look at it, but they're very almost identical situations. Okay, now I was keeping an eye on the pound dollar just in case you were worried what happened with our trade, but anyhow, it broke to the downside, so no worries. That's why I elaborated a bit longer on the long-term analysis, but unfortunately, it broke to the other side. So that is not what we want, all right? And just to make clear, why is that not what we want? Because it's moving counter to the trend, which is on the long-term analysis up, and even on the short-term analysis, it's up, 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 up. Any move down could be very tricky to trade and could encounter really support at any level. All right. So let me get rid of these red lines now. We'll take a look again at this London Open tomorrow. I hope that one day we'll get an actual trade out of it. But let me clean up this chart a bit, okay? A lot of fibs here. Don't want to make it too messy. Alrighty. Let me just get rid of this one quickly. So let me just answer some questions. I hope this long-term analysis, first of all, makes sense. Now, for those of you who maybe are new to using fibs in this way, I'm sure you want to see before you want to use this yourself. But this is definitely how I always trade it, and this analysis works well for me at least. Let's see. Some questions. The strategy setup, yeah, that's a good question, Kosi. It's only for the pound, at least, as far as I know. You can test it on all the currencies you want to, but the pound dollar has a special relationship, all right? It has a unique relationship with the start of the day, of the London session, I should say. Sorry, not necessarily trading day, London session, all right? Definitely. So pound dollar is unique in that regard. And this London Open is only for the pound dollar. But, I mean, if you would test it on other currencies, who knows? But it's specifically for the pound dollar. That's EMAs, not SMAs, EMAs, expression exponential I'm using. Moving averages are all fib-based moving averages. I use basically my favorites are 34 and 144, to be honest. I love those, especially 144. Both of them are really awesome EMAs. My opinion, the best, of course. Otherwise, that's why I work with them. No, I know it's just silly. I mean, probably 35 would do just as well as 34, but it's because they're fib numbers, I guess, and I'm a big fib fan, so that's why I like those. Okay, but I think that 55 and 89, also are nice. 13 or 12, good as well. Some people use 4, 9, and 18, I believe, but I like these. Okay, great. Thanks for the questions, and feel free to ask anything you want. All right. Alrighty, let's move on to the 1 hour chart. here too you can see massive uptrend. We had some contraction yesterday. We had a slowish breakout of this correction right in here. A bit tricky how you want to do it, but if you do it like this, maybe we had a correction, a counter trend correction in the uptrend, and here we had a breakout. But the breakout was quite mild, to be honest, on the pound. Euro was a bit better. That's because Mondays never have that volatility usually and follow through as other days. All right, there's just not, typically I really hardly trade on Mondays anyhow, unless I see something very interesting. But most of the time I get disappointed on Mondays. I would have been as well if I would have traded this yesterday. All right, I know that some traded this breakout, and technically it's a good trade on the euro and pound. It is, but the follow-through is sometimes lacking, and I think that you could see that there was not much of follow-through on Monday anyhow. But technically, it was a nice break. I mean, you have everything in place, right? You have that uptrend, you have higher highs, higher lows. Very simple, folks, and you have a correction, and if you break out here, you should get that follow-through, that push, and usually it does. But sometimes it doesn't. Well, I mean, not that it didn't move at all, but not much. Let me say it this way. So the question is, will we make kind of a bigger correction like this or upside? Now, that bigger correction can happen, but it's, to be honest, not something. I know that people would trade this. I know traders that would trade it to the downside. I'm not a big fan of that because we could bounce right in here. We could bounce right in here. We could bounce right in here. All of these could be bouncing spots. Not, in my opinion, not worth it. Not worth it, to be honest. As you already know me, I'm very conservative with the trend trader, and I'll rather wait when the momentum is back in line, in sync with the bigger trend. Those are a lot better trades, and your energy is a lot more, well spent. Let me say it this way than otherwise. All right. Now let's take a look at the euro, and then if you have any suggestions, please feel free. If you have a certain currency that you look at, that you want to look at, let me know. I look at many, but maybe there are a few that I don't look at, or maybe you see something very interesting on a currency we wouldn't look at immediately. In that case, let me know, all right, if you have a certain preference. Otherwise, I guess that would wrap it up. We can take a look at the 50-minute world still, and the 5 quickly to zoom in, all right? See what's happening on the pound, by the way. So that was the 1 hour, 4 hour. Just quickly review it, day chart. All right, good. 50-minute world. Also, everything upside pointed. Sorry. 5 minutes. Oh, we have actually, we're getting a oversold stochastics actually on the pound. Let me see if the euro has the same. The euro has the same, so it could be, this could be a setup actually. I didn't notice. Let's see. Euro is quite close to the top, but definitely could break. Just quickly looking at everything here. Looking pretty good actually on the longer term. Everything is set up. Nice retracement of that 1 hour bullish candle. Day chart. Nice bullish candle here. Pretty close back to the open of today. Maybe a bit of a breakout here and hook back, for example. Let's see. Yeah, looking pretty bullish, and we have a turn here, and we know that when we turn, when we get oversold here in an uptrend, and that could be an interesting level. So I'm going to try a mini here on the euro. See how it goes. I will put the stop loss below, let's see, below this low here at 44. I could even use this one maybe, but it's a bit iffy, I guess. 57. That's a bit, I don't think they will break this bottom, but I'd rather give it maybe a bit more space. Let's see. That would be also the low of this candle here. 44, 47, 46. 46. Yeah, I'll give it a bit more space. That's a bit tricky. Both could be valid. One is a bit tighter. The other one, which would maximize reward to risk, right? Because our risk is very small. So anything that even small pip movement would already mean a very good reward to risk in a way. That's good about it. Then again, maybe the stop loss is a bit shaky, and there's a likelihood of maybe touching it here and still going up, and you know that would be a pity. So if by doing this in a way, our risk is bigger, but then we would still maybe survive a small dip down and up. That's always a tough balance there. Let's see. Great. I see some questions. Awesome. So let me just first put a take profit here on this euro dollar. Let's see. Let me put a fib on this move up first. Alrighty. Right to target. Alright, so we went to the 50 fib of this last move up. Remember last week we were looking at it here and it continued on Thursday. And I've been looking at this personally already, expecting upside here with this smaller wedge we had in here. I expected this move up, and then the break here. We had a bigger wedge. We broke that, and then we had the sideways range we were looking at, and one more upside. So let's see if we can get one more push up. If I use this last piece here, and the target of that would be 133.70. That's quite far from here. Let's zoom in back to our 15-minute world. Let's see. 133.70. That's a huge target. I don't think a bit big to aim for that, but I think if I go for, let's see, maybe the smaller fib here. Which is 133.60. That's a bit closer to home. Maybe 133.50. It's still a massive target. Oh, why not? I can, not necessarily have to hang into the entire target. We'll see how price develops itself and try to trail stop it to lock in some profit, of course. So that's just the ideal target for the moment. All right, now take a look at the questions. Let's see. Where did I leave off? Where did I see the last question here? Stochastics, it's 813. Euro dollar, we can do that. Well, let's see. What do you mean with TC trend continuation? Probably. Let me know. The breakout, the euro dollar is very bullish in my opinion. I wouldn't be mistaken about it. Everything on this euro dollar is very bullish. You can see the power in not only oscillators but also in just pure price action. You just see how much territory those currencies have eaten up in a few hours so aggressively that there's really no doubt about it. It's very aggressive, very impulsive, very bullish. I don't think there's any need to doubt that. It's just a question when and from where can we get that continuation, just like we had basically here. I mean, you could see impulse, correction, continuation. Correction, continuation, correction, continuation. It's not that difficult, really. It's just timing is, of course, and getting the good price and stop losses, and that's always something that is more tricky, really, than necessarily the analysis. Because, well, not that everyone has that right either, but that's still, you know, I was personally bullish in my articles ever since here. This turnaround, I was really very bullish, you know, so. And now still remain the same. But if we break this, you know, it's all because we're using leverage. We need to get good timing and good entries. That's very important, more than analysis. We know that we're going up. The likelihood of breaking this top is immense high. But when and where and from what level, that's kind of more tricky. And we can use fibs and all kind of tools to justify or to measure that, trend lines, moving averages. That's basically, you know, the very important job of ours, of course. And to me, I think it's worth a stab at the moment. Now, small risk because I do like it more if we actually break this top, to be honest, as I already said. But I think there's a decent chance, looking at price action, that we're just going to build upwards and upwards on this uptrend like this here. Let's see if we put a trend line on the bottoms. We got a nice bounce here. I think that if we do move down, we'll bump into support, and then I'll try to compensate that loss with a buy from lower with a bit more risk to compensate that loss and try again to the upside. All right, so really no harm done. There's always ways out. Now, let's see. Let me continue with those questions. So euro odd. So in my opinion, Roberto's euro dollar, yeah, that breakout is important to me. All those breakouts here, every one of them, the smaller wedge, the bigger wedge, correction here, but especially this top, and I agree, is important. Yeah, definitely. Look at the Aussie. We can take a look at the Aussie. Good question, Vitatas. How far can it drop? Well, I think I said, to be honest, I made a wager in an article of mine on April the 18th that the Aussie is going to be at 92 on the 14th of June, mid-June. Now, it reached 94, right? So I need 200 more pips by the end of the week. I hope it's going to drop that. But to be honest, it looks like, looking at the power to the downside, I think it's probably going to drop the entire June, I think, maybe, or at least I think more than 92. That was my first, you know, back in April the 18th, my first target. I think that we're going to make that one for sure. Maybe not, I don't know, this week necessarily. It looks pretty good, but who knows. Otherwise, next week. And I think that we can even go lower, indeed. How low is a good question. We can take a look at it. I think 89 seems decent, at least. Alrighty. Someone's saying 600 pip stop loss. Don't know what you mean with that. Vitata is saying is my stop loss is incorrect. Well, I don't think there's anything necessarily incorrect about it. You have to explain me why. Basically, what I'm using is this fractal, right? This 1 hour low here. You could argue that if I would have a very large target, you could even use this. So it's just it's more a matter of choice than I think than incorrectness. But but if you would explain it maybe why you think that could help, because I'm not sure why. Because this is a 1 hour like support level. You could definitely use that to bounce here. Also, we broke out of this correction, as I said here, with an impulse, sideways impulse. So this level could be support. If that doesn't hold, this support doesn't hold, then we might as well drop all the way to this bottom. Now, I don't want to, at this moment, I'd rather take a smaller stop loss with a small risk and maximize the reward than take a bigger stop loss and not so good RR. But that is a choice that everyone would have to make themselves. Let's see. Chris there's a Chris here looking at the pound yen short. All right, let me write this down because I have to admit my memory is not as good as it used to be. So let me get a piece of paper here. We had euro odd. We had odd dollar and how far it can go down, and then the pound yen. How far? All right, short pound yen. Depends on the pound tonight. Let's see. The move up is bullish. I can see Kalen is looking for short. How many years of experience do you have, Kalen, if I may ask, in trading? Before I comment that. Let's see. I'm just curious. I don't want to put you on the spot. I'm just curious. Either you have a lot of experience or maybe not much. I think one of the two. But I'm curious. Let's see. Fractals seating you're using, please. Just the fractals is a standard indicator. Co-seek. Right? There's no setting. You can't change it. Huh? Oh. You mean I put? Now I understand what Kalen is meaning. I put. Thanks for that. I thought, why would it be incorrect? I thought technically incorrect. No, you're right. Thanks for that heads up. That would be a massive stop loss for a very small reward. So let me put it correctly. That's 132.44. I don't know what I was thinking. I was living back in the days of 2 years ago, I think. Sorry about that. And I'm lecturing here, Kayla, like. Sorry about that, buddy. Yeah, thanks everyone. Cheers about that. Well, Kayla, you have a point. You never know. We're at the top, and it is a bit of a risk here. And you can always make a correction and then up. And we would get a sideways box like this. And in that regard, you're right. But it's just, you would need a lot of experience. I don't know who was, maybe it was someone else actually who said that. No, it was okay. You need a lot of experience to catch something like that, and I would only recommend it not recommend it at all, but if anything, this is still a major support that is definitely not easy to crack either, just like this top. So, and considering the uptrend, strong impulse, very strong impulse here, this top is going to break. I think it's worth a go, but if it doesn't, as I said, I'll try from here again to compensate it with an extra unit and still look for the upside. Now, I do know people that like those counter trend trades. As I said, I don't think either. If you have a bit more experience, a year is definitely too short. But if you have enough experience under the belt that you feel comfortable with taking counter trends, sure, by all means. But I think if you have a year, to be honest, my advice would be to look for good spots where you get a cheap discount in existing trends, and try to wait for confirmations when you go back in that trend. I think that's better than assuming that it will continue. So that would be my advice. But all right. But thanks for the heads up, buddy. So anyhow, let's see. This is the 5-minute world. That's so we have some bullish price action. It's good that we have some low here. We're building on that low. As you can see, we move up, hook back, pushing a bit up. So let's see if we get a continuation. That's how most of these things work. They use supports. So let's see if we get a follow through or not. Let me take a look at let's see. There's a bit of a divergence between these tops. Let's see if this trade materializes. The moving averages were quite, only thing that's maybe not, if you look at the moving averages, it's quite flat. It's not like we have a nice angle and prices moving against it. Then the rebound chance is a bit higher, to be honest. This is kind of rounding here a bit. That's the only thing that's maybe not so nice about it. Tricky. I mean, technically, yes, it does qualify as this. Let me show you which one. As this, we don't have it here actually. I have to add it. Wait, let me write it down. This is the 5-minute euro-dollar strategy that Toronto explained in his scalping strategies, but I don't have it mentioned here. I will add it. All right. Now let's go back to the charts. The breakout continuation would be, for example, if we have here a push and move down and then a continuation, that would be here. All right. So let's see. Don't like the angle of it, but then again, let me see if there was a better example. This one, for example, here. That was better because we went back to oversold, and well, we didn't reach the moving averages here actually. Let me see. Oh, it doesn't matter. The euro odd downside. That's a good question. We'll take a look at that as well. It's moving massively upside, but okay. There is, by the way, I will, but just that you know, there is a webinar on the scalping strategies. All right, everything is explained. Just in case you're not aware of it, there's a scalping strategy webinar. I think 2 weeks ago. Should be uploaded hopefully. The pound is moving pretty aggressively to the downside. That means the euro pound is moving up a lot. So the euro pound is finally breaking to the upside, like we said last week. I was looking for a 50 pip bounce here, but it looks like we got the bounce 1 pip lower at the 618 here. You can see we had a bit of a turn here. We were bending like this. Also, we broke already a high, made higher lows, and now we're approaching again these tops. So we're quite close to resistance, but looking at the power, wouldn't be surprised if we break a bit here. And it looks like we're back in this uptrend. We're definitely, in any case, breaking the downtrend, that's for sure. And we're building on an uptrend here again. So a bit lower fib than expected, 618 and not 50. Looks like we can start building an upside here on this euro pound. Maybe, for example, up to this level, the 618 target, because we have that 618 bounce, so that would be the target. That target is at 87. So the fact that the pound is moving down is not so nice maybe for the euro. But iffy. Difficult. It's really not too nice looking. I mean, it's taking very long. I would have liked to see a power already right now, to be honest. And also the fact that the pound is moving down. Plus, these moving averages are quite flat, and this short-term moving average is being dragged down. Plus, we still have made a higher low here. Sorry, lower high. Excuse me, way around. I think I'll just click it out, to be honest. I don't know. I don't like it that much. I'll just wait and see. I'll wait for a break, pullback continuation. That's a bit more secure and a bit more confirmation. I'd rather wait for confirmation in this scenario, because looking at the facts of the pound and the euro not really moving up. We already have here a fractal. This is moving down. I'd rather take a what was it? Let me take a look. $3 than I hang in there and just see it maybe move down after the pound. So I'll wait and rather still very interested in the upside, but rather wait for a bit more confirmation, either for a break of this top, or if we were using lower time frames, wait for a break of this maybe or this, then a pullback continuation. All right, break, PVC. That's always a bit more confirmation, of course, than anticipating a turn, which kind of doing here. So let's see. Some questions. The webinars you can find, just quickly, folks, show you education. Go to webinars. Go to video archive. Here you can sign up as usual, but here you have video archive. And then you can see the videos, all right? All of them dating back to beginning of February. Yeah, no problem, David. So I would suggest taking a look at those other ones now. I know there are some swing traders here, and I don't want to deprive you of looking at some currencies. So definitely keep an eye on those euro and pounds. But as I said, I'm not interested in counter trend moves. And this downside is definitely counter trend. For whatever reason, it's moving down. I don't care, but I'd rather wait for the turn to the upside. All right, so let's move on to the Aussie. All right, moving down as we speak. Wow, pretty interesting here. Already moving down 40, 60 pips. Wow. Alrighty. The week chart had a massive week candle, of course, with a huge wick and a very bearish close right near the low. Now, what that signals to us is that A, there's huge bearish pressure. B, towards the end of the week, there is no relief or bullishness or closing of trades that would put any upside, that would put the downside in any problems, because the close is very near the low. That's important because that means that the momentum is still very much down. If you have a substantial wick, of course, then you know that the balance of power within that week, for whatever reason, is a bit iffy. For example, well, this is a huge pin bar, which is logical in itself, but maybe a wick like this, you know, that it's not a pin bar, but it's definitely a big wick. All right, now that we didn't have, of course, logically, so definitely very bearish. I said bearish, and even after these 4 weeks of bearishness, so definitely continuation here. And what I would be looking for is either, let's see, first of all, we have this target. If we fib this down move, that's at 90 to 40-ish. That could be a small bouncing spot. Then the next target could be this 89 that I was talking about. All right. So the reason I targeted 92 in my bet on the April 18th was because of this minus 272. That's why I said it. That's why I said 92 or 92.50. I would have to check the article, but anyhow, one of those two, because of this target, basically. All right. Now, because of the strength, we could even get to this one, maybe to this one. Who knows? Definitely possible. If you put a fib on the opposite side to the upside, you can see that we have a 382 fib here at 91. That could give a bounce as well, maybe. All those levels could give small bounces. We'll have to monitor it on a smaller time frame to see what target would be likely to where it could stop for a bigger turn. But all of these are definitely valid targets. So anywhere for the moment between, what was it, 86 or 87, no, 88 and 89, definitely possible. This is the day chart. You can see just a massive move down, very impulsive, breaks. I mean, this could fall a lot still. If you look at the momentum it has, what could happen is eventually we'll get a bigger correction, then another break, then a even bigger correction, one more break, at least you would say 2 more bottom breaks before we have any sign of major upside. 4-hour chart here, break here, spike during the NFP, or no, I think it was Thursday, then again a continuation, almost closed the gap, but moving down again. So a lot of downside. That was to answer the question first of all. And in the immediate future, let's take a look. Maybe a small bounce here, but otherwise I think that 618 is likely at 92. This was a good trade yesterday. That was a break here. Break was a good trade. Pullback, not a continuation here. Very impulsive. Alrighty. So what I would be looking for personally is something like this, like yesterday, and then I'll wait for another break. And you can do this pretty much until you get close to major support levels, major targets. Then you want to be careful, because then there could be bigger bounces. Just for example, like here, we had a bigger bounce. All right, that's always possible, but otherwise you can keep really at it with shorting corrections, waiting for corrections, letting it break and shorting it, corrections on the 1 hour, 4 hour. Only be careful of those bigger support levels. All right. Well, I don't personally, Steph, I don't look at that information, but I'm just aware of it, but I don't use it for trading, to be honest. But I know that people do a combination of fundamentals and technicals, so you can create that style for yourself, for example. There's nothing wrong with that. But I'm just not. I've never tried to use that information to predict currencies. I only have practice and experience in using kind of technicals, right? Technicals to make those predictions, and who knows, maybe it would be awesome, and maybe I should try it. I don't know, but this is working fine for me, so I guess I don't have much motivation to add that analysis, I guess. And some people, some technical people say that it confuses them if they use too much fundamentals, which, yeah, I mean, could make sense, I guess, in a way. Some also like to use both, so that will be up to you, I guess, what you like, all right? Let's see. Yeah, so let's move on. But the Aussie, awesome trading. I mean, really beautiful downside trend. The Aussie has been trading against all currencies: CAD, Swissy, Euro, Pound, New Zealand, Dollar, and that's pretty impressive. Very impressive. Look at this angle of this faster moving average is 12 EMA. It's just falling like never before. And the gap between the 12 and 144 is just immense, big, and you know, it's just has tremendous downside. Okay, Stefan. Yeah, I mean, if it works well for you, I would keep it. If you think you can improve it, you can try it. Nothing wrong. I'm not personally saying that it's a bad idea, but some people do it indeed. You're odd. Wow, look at that. It's difficult to predict because, to be honest, I thought we would see some bit of correction here. Didn't happen. We're right at the 618 target as we speak now. So, but who knows? Looks so impulsive. It really kind of breaking through all those levels. So, nothing really stopping it at the moment. And if it doesn't respect the targets, then the only thing left is, for example, massive resistances or maybe a huge monthly fib. What else could it really stop? I mean, you know, I guess that would be the only thing that could stop it, is maybe just otherwise, really, if you think about it, there's nothing really in the way of it, and the only thing that could stop it is eventually if its own weight kind of tops out here and you see some bend here, and then it starts to fall. Otherwise, it could keep on going. This is a high here with 3 tops, so maybe that could be a level, 142.80. That could be good to keep on the chart to see if the currency shows anything right there. But to be honest, this is like a straight bullet. And even if we get a small hook back like this, we'd still expect one more move up. So it really isn't close to stopping, in my opinion, just like the Aussie. Funny thing is that the last part of last week when we were looking at it, remember I said this is a good buy here on the Euro odd? Funny enough that is the biggest impulse of this all move up. And what that means is that this could be actually the biggest kind of power to the upside, which if that would be true, if only now we get the most powerful part of this upside, that would mean that there's, even if it weakens a bit in size and motion and movement, you still would see several breaks up in other wave terms, you're thinking of a wave 1, 2, 1, 2. This is wave 3, and you have many waves 4 and 5s maybe left. For those of you who like any waves, anyhow. But just if you don't, it doesn't matter. Just looking at the power, the thing with that you might know is that if you move fast in a short time, there's just a lot of power, and currencies don't turn on a dime. They need divergences. They need to show signs of weaknesses, rising wedges. That all is still in front of us before we really get a massive turn. And so that signals to me that probably a lot of space still left, or there's a likelihood of that. Very, very interesting. Same like the pound odd. That odd is, I mean, I expected bearishness, but even this tops the expectations really. I was an Aussie bear, but wow, this is almost crazy. I guess that once you got these massive grand cycles, just like the yen, where we had 6 months nonstop upside, those are just, it's difficult to imagine because they happen so rarely, right? They happen once a year, twice a year. You got a massive move up, or okay, we had the pound dollar massive down move. We had the yen. But it's not something you have every week or every month or every semi-year, sometimes only once a year. So it's always difficult to picture something like this continuing that massive and that long. You can see that last week was a very bullish week here. And we've had higher highs and higher lows on this week candle for 2 months straight now. One of my strategies on the long term is to look, for example, for an uptrend. Maybe this will be interesting for you. I'll share you one of my long-term strategies, all right, if you'd like. So I look at the week chart, and I'll look for higher highs and higher lows. Higher highs and higher lows on the week candles, or lower lows, lower highs. So I look for trend, but looking at the candles, not necessarily looking at this, all right? I'm looking at the candles themselves. And you can see we had here the higher high. So this was the first uptrend moment for the week. And we had engulfing. I was already telling people, look out, engulfing, we trace upside, all right? And we had it upside, and we kept on making those higher highs and higher lows. You see, quite neatly. Now, sometimes you don't get a higher high. That's okay, although in this case we did. But okay, sometimes you get an in-between candle, like here, for example. You didn't get a higher high, but you did get a higher low. That's okay, all right? As long as we don't break the low of the week. We're still in that uptrend. So we had that for many weeks. Then I zoom into the day chart. I hope that's clear. All right, it's just very simple, higher highs, higher lows of the week chart. Because of the week charts are good levels. Those highs and lows are really important to banks. They're very clear. There's just a simple level. And when we approach a high or low, it's always a major thing. All right. Now then I move to the. So it's not a level. It's a level everyone knows about. Sometimes trend lines, who knows about your trend line? The only one who sees your trend line is probably yourself, or in my case, you as well. But you know what I mean. So the day chart. So once we have an uptrend, then I'm only looking for breaks of tops, and I'm putting my stop loss underneath the lows. So in this case, although this strategy would be the first entry would be here with stop loss here. Although personally I really was trading it on this retrace because I saw these engulfing twins on the week chart, so I took it already myself on this retrace. But that's a different strategy, of course. That's like a fib strategy, I guess, and price action. So my first add-on was on this strategy right here when we broke the stop. And stop loss would be here, right? As I said, and then you can fib that up move, and then aim for the targets. 618 minus 1272, and you can do that with next breaks as long as you're not very close to some major resistance. Of course, if this break is okay because we're breaking this top at the same time. But if it would have been a bit lower and the entry would be just below this top, then you could skip it. But so that's another entry with stop loss still here though. And the next one would be here with stop loss now here though. Then here, stop loss here. So they are massive stops, but this is a long-term strategy. It's based on the day and week. Of course, not everyone would like it, but next one would be at that circle, stop loss here, sorry. So you would have a lot of positions going on here to the upside. But maybe in this area where I have the blue circle, you don't have to take all three of them. They're quite bunched up. So that would be taking the risk more or less at the same place. You don't have, that wouldn't make sense, of course. You have to use your risk management and common sense here as well, of course. That would be the strategy. Doing pretty well in the long term. Good, also maybe good for swing traders that just to get a sense of the direction, which is, well, logically up, but anyhow. So that's one of my long-term strategies. I don't use it that often. I use it definitely once in a while, but yeah, I'm more of a swing trader. So, but it does give a good heads up. For example, on the euro, we had uptrend on the week chart since this one, where we had a higher high and higher low. All right, on the chart we had a higher low as well here, by the way, but that's really not important. And then this break basically, right, with the stop loss here, would have been the trade. And yeah, ever since it really, we broke that top, we got that upside. You can see once we broke the top, we made a small pullback, continuation, that sideways move, and an upside. And last week we were looking at this move, sideways move here, and then we got that continuation. All right, then you can, for example, you could fib this here to get the targets. And that would be the long-term strategy. All right. So I think it's pretty simple, straightforward. But if you have questions, let me know. Okay, that's my long-term strategy there. Anyhow, let's take a look at the euro dollar again. Okay, we're getting some move up here, finally some impulse. Let me take a look at the 15. Good. So this is the 50-minute high. Probably, let's see. Yeah. So maybe if it breaks that high and we get a pullback, as I said, and then continuation. All right. Let's see if we get that. Looks pretty good now, actually. I mean, we did get a higher low. Oh. We did get a higher low here. I was a bit worried about that the pound dollar was going down, right? And that we would get also a follow-up here, but looks like maybe my fear was invalid. We are getting a bit of upside. Well, anyhow, nothing lost. For me, it still can catch it a bit later, all right? Anyhow, let's just take a quick look at the pound, still moving downside already. So that's the euro odd. Difficult to say, basically. We are approaching this 142.80, but I don't know. Who knows? It was so long ago that we had those tops. Definitely could be some of a resistance, but looking at the power, we probably only a pause with some pullback or retracement, and we'll get another upside. you can see that the last time we broke a top was all the way here, and it's just in one straight line. So well, even if we get a correction, the likelihood of this top, where I have the blue circle here, getting broken is so high that just look for turns anywhere in here will be very good, still very good longs. Let me add an ADX here quickly. Where is it? Sorry, folks. ADX, ADX. Maybe it's not here. Let's see. Ta, ta, ta. Doesn't look so. Well, anyhow, it's not that important. I was just wondering, ADX gives an idea how far a trend has developed, but I don't see it. Okay, doesn't matter. Maybe I'm missing it, but I'm sometimes blind, so. What else to say? That's about it, I guess. But yeah, this is just look at the gap here we had between these moving averages. Just want to add that. It's getting smaller, then it gets bigger. But look at where it really gets bigger, right here. So that just, wow. That threw me. I must say that that was a good buy here, but I didn't expect this. I mean, I expected more of this movement, continuation like that, and eventually down. But the fact that we are making it more impulsive means a lot. And what I'm still looking for is something like, to be honest, like this. I haven't changed my game plan. That's the way I like to trade. I like to breaks of these types of corrections here, like that, for upside. Problem with this is that it's a bullet, and although we had maybe a small pause in here, once I'm out of this trade, I would rather wait for something like this before jumping in again. But you can see that that in this case it's really an extended move. As I said, we had a bit of a move, bigger pause there. What was that? That was Wednesday evening, but otherwise, this was Monday. We had a continuation, of course, yesterday after a very choppy beginning. But looking at the 1 hour bar, it's just tremendous power. Look at that, broke the stop right at close, right near the high. Wow. So, but that I'm not trading that personally. I'm just commentating. The only thing I can say is that I would love to trade the upside, but I'm really waiting for a correction. I'm not going to jump in. The only method I have of jumping in is using this day chart and using a break of a fractal, which we don't have here yet. So I'm not trading this. Not right here in any case. Maybe if we would have had our focus on the euro out instead of the euro dollar and pound dollar, we could have traded this to the upside, but that's a matter of the past. Anyhow, so water under the bridge. So that's my opinion on the euro. Let's move on. I don't want to bore you. Dennis, those arrows are fractal indicator. You can go to insert indicators, Bill Williams fractals. Then we have someone asking how to draw technical analysis lines. Well, the lines you can draw just by connecting tops and bottoms. And the tops, the more touches, the better. The more areas, the better. the more spaced out and longer the line is and more price action it incorporates, the better. If it has a bit of an angle, it is a bit better, but it doesn't have to be. So you just need to connect tops and bottoms and touching points. So you can use those fractals to see which tops and bottoms are important to make those lines. All right. And of course, horizontal lines are important, such as resistance and support, especially on 4-hour and day chart, of course. Tops and bottoms, those are horizontal. Those are important. All right. We can maybe do a webinar on trend lines if you want. Anyone interested in that? Gold, Gabor, very tricky. Kind of such a slow move up, then a fall on Friday. It would be nice to break the bigger bottom at 1320 or the top at 1420. One of those two, otherwise it's just really very choppy. Break of the top, I would think, would finally mean maybe more correction to 1530, and a break of 1320, maybe finally a down move to 1250. Okay. Great, Kaylin. I will write it down, trend lines. I'm actually talking about Tarantula about future topics. So if you have a suggestion right away, I'm all ears. And let me know. You can still write it down now because we're actually going to talk about those topics soon. So let me know. What a pound yen, I've promised someone. Sorry about that for the person who asked. I apologize. We'll take a look at that right now. Yeah, it's the average directional movement. It's under trends. Sorry. It's fully spelled. Thanks about that. Thanks for that. ADX. Yeah, it's massively high. We've been above the 50 for very long, but I guess that's what you get when you're in an uptrend. On the week chart, it's actually still at 45. So if we use this week chart as our measurement, maybe, there's definitely still some space to go, I guess. That's what I wanted to look at. What kind of movement could we expect on this ADX? Because it's pretty good for trends. And we're at 45. We're approaching 50, but we could easily go to 60 as well, as you can see, or even higher. So looks like there's definitely could be some space to the upside before we top out here. Just wanted to see that quickly. Let's go to the pound yen, and I'll explain what those fractals are. I just use them for tops and bottoms, and indications of where price has two candles to the left and two candles to the right that are higher or lower. So in this case, the middle candle has a high which is higher than the two candles to the left and two candles to the right. In the example with the blue, we have a candle in the middle that has a low that is lower than the two candles to the left and two candles to the right. And it indicates a bottom or top. Of course, not every fractal bottom or top is just as important. As you can see, these are definitely less important than this one right there, because that was actually a major turning spot, while those others are just kind of small fractals. But every one of those is a fractal, and then of course you would have to judge depending on how big of a resistance or support the market has treated that level to give more or less importance to all these fractals. You can see there are many fractals, but the real important ones you could decrease by judging yourself, like this one is definitely more important, this one of course, even this one, these, you could, that you would have, this one, you could judge that by yourself then. All right, so there are many fractals, and they're just a visual tool for me to see when where there is a support or resistance level, and then I judge myself how important I think it is. But I also use it in entries. If you have a break, pullback, continuation, like this, I take the break of this top, which is also a fractal in my analysis there, or entries. All right, so I use that as well, like that. Alrighty. So let's take a look at the pound yen. For those of you who like short term, it does look like we're getting a push up here on the euro. So maybe a pity we didn't hang in there, but let's take a look at the pound, still moving down. Kind of slowish though, to be honest. And there's a news event in 20 minutes. I don't know. Kind of iffy, but it is pushing up. Where did we enter? Or let's see, I took it out. 66. It's just a few pips above it anyhow. I think it's really very choppy, to be honest. And this is more of a confirmation, if you know what I mean. So, sorry, folks, for those of you who were hoping to catch a trade, doesn't look like anything substantial is going to happen before the news event in 20 minutes on the pound. So maybe, well, we'll have to move, because there's always regularly pound news events. Maybe we'll have to move the webinar. We'll let's see. We'll think about it. In any case, I hope that you still enjoyed and learned something today. If you want to ask some questions, go ahead. All right. In any case, I thank you for being here. All right. I'm not closing it, but I know that some people will be leaving if there's no trade to be found. So I'm thanking them for being here. If you do like analysis, please hang on, and I'll take a look at the pound yen. All right. So the pound yen, basically massive upside, right? I was waiting for, I think, a year for that upside to materialize, because this was already looking like that we're going to be ending soon, kind of like a falling wedge. EJ had it very strong. We had divergences, impulse, correction. It had that massive upside momentum written all over it. It just took enormous time before it finally happened. I remember back in 2011, I was like, when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? And I was a bit disappointed with this move. I thought it would be bigger, and it finally happened here. Very nice trading. And we're still in an uptrend on this week chart, to be honest. You can do something like this, maybe cutting a bit of price action. And maybe like that. That would be look a bit funny, but maybe that's not the best. Maybe like a trend channel. I'm not sure about that. Anyhow, the bottom line is more important. That's the next major resistance on this week chart. Otherwise, we broke all levels. So that's the next major one. Of course, the current top is important as well, right? And the next major bottoms on this chart is right around here and here. All right. Now, although we're in an uptrend, we are definitely seeing some lower highs and lower lows on the weekly candles. Although we broke last week's high already. Interesting. And there was quite a big wick here. It's kind of in a limbo, if you see what I mean. Uptrend, down move here, get up. What is it? A big wick. Kind of messy, in my opinion, if you look at it from this large time frame. Let's move on to the day chart. And if we put a fib on this last up move, which could still act as support levels. The question is, do we want to fib this? Maybe. It looks like the 50 was nicely hit here. So maybe this is a better fib. I do check if the fibs are actually used, so as to get a guidance of what could be the best fib. And this one looks a bit better than the other one, to be honest, because if you look at the touches here, 236, 382, 50, quite neat. Maybe this fib. So the 618, 786 could be support levels, just like the 86 and these bottoms. All right. That doesn't mean that there couldn't be good down trades to them, but you have to be aware that those levels could send the currency back up. Here too, a pretty big wick. On the day chart, we have some tops here, which we pushed it through a bit, right? Alrighty. I want to be aware of this daily low and this spot. Let's move on to the 4-hour chart now. It is very funky, to be honest. We have a kind of a move down. We have a massive sideways correction that probably took 2 weeks. Then a continuation down and a massive up move again. To be honest, it could be a correction like this and it's back in the upside, but who knows? We had a massive engulfing 4-hour twins on this pound yen. Ah, mamma mia. Very, 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 very funny moves. Looking at this wick, I think that any move down will bump into support. I think that this is such a massive wick that even if it's downside after that, something like this, a bounce here, then down will happen, or maybe then up, who knows. But a bounce at, I'll make it a blue circle, is likely. We'll use probably this as a support for a move up. So I think we could put a fib on this up move as well. Oh, it's really so tricky because we posted a higher high here, but we have a higher low here. Yikes. Okay, let's go to the 1-hour chart. Here we're kind of back in this downtrend, making down movements. Well, simply put, I wouldn't touch it. If you're in a short, you do have some momentum on the lower time frame. You have massive down move as well. We just approached a resistance level and moving down from there. So if you are in the short, looking good, and you could maybe target this 786, 618 depending on where you took it, how big your risk is, and if that is a sufficient reward or not. So I don't know those factors, but that's what I would think are natural support levels, any of these two fibs. And would be a preferred target in my opinion. You could monitor the 1-hour chart to see if we get any bounce off those fibs as well, instead of just assuming that the fib would be a bouncing area. But looking good otherwise. So 153, Chris took it at 153. And where was your stop loss? That looks nice. Yes, understand. Well, depending on your risk, where you have your stop loss, I don't know how big that size is, but I would aim for these targets right in here. All right, but I don't think we'll break this bottom in one go. We will see bounces normally like this, and you might want to eventually just take your profit because otherwise it could be a bigger bounce against you that takes you out for break even. Are you at break even? All right. That's cool. Yeah, so then it's perfect. Then I would definitely aim for probably this target then, 618. And I would monitor the 1-hour chart, and with any engulfing 1-hour candles or a huge wick, probably just take my profit right there, I guess. Otherwise, I'm not trading this until I have a clear structure that isn't whipsawing like this. I don't like it. That's why I wouldn't trade it now. I would want to see something like this and wait for this, or this, and wait for this, or wait for this, and wait for that, or take that, I should say. All right. So that's why I don't like this movement too much. One thing you want to be aware of, by the way, I don't know if we talked about it last week, is the Euro CAD, by the way. The CAD is really moving a lot. Is pretty nice moves there as well. We broke out of a maybe a bit of a bigger correction like this here. As you can see, there was a wick though last week, but still pushing through these levels. We are at tops, that's true, but we are breaking out here. And let me put just a line above this big top right in here. That's a level you want to be careful of, otherwise pretty impressive. Upside here on the EuroCAD. On the day chart you can see big upside, pretty big corrections here too. Those were good trading to the downside, but then we did get, again, support at this level right in here. And that was a good upside continuation with trendline break. So something you want to be maybe aware of as well, the EuroCAD. Minus 272 target at 140. Otherwise, what else is going on? Swissy, massive downside. So if we break, that's kind of the opposite of the euro. Should be more downside as well. Pound Swissy, let's see, euro, dollar CAD. Dollar CAD a bit different than the dollar Swissy because we bounced off the 618. That's because of the CAD weakness. We had dollar and CAD weakness, so the dollar CAD didn't go as much down as the dollar Swissy, and we did have double bottom and moving up. So maybe we can rebound here to higher levels again. We are breaking a smaller top here. Let's see. One more higher low would be nice, to be honest. And then a break. That would be good for this CAD. Euro pound is, well, we talked about it. It's turning to the upside. We got some impulse. Oh, we already broke this top, as I expected. So maybe that would have been a better trade today. The euro and pound really not moving that nicely. There were other currencies, unfortunately, that were set up better. New Zealand moving down as well. Let's take the yen, dollar yen still. Basically, would like to see here, same story. Probably we may move down to retest this bottom. That will probably be used as support levels for bounce up. If we do break a trend line that I have here, when we do bounce and go up right in here, that could signal a bigger correction maybe to these resistance levels in here. All right, something like that seems the path of the most likely path on the dollar yen. Any other currencies we missed? I think that's a quick wrap up of of the currencies I look at, except the pound New Zealand we didn't look at. But otherwise, those are my main currencies. So to sum it up, euro dollar, definitely expecting upside continuation, still the same. Or there it is. So if you join later, let's take a look at potential targets. $133.80, for example. Or even if you would look for the bigger target, it could be 786 and 135. To be honest, 133.80 would be a target, but 135 would be a fib, which could be resistance. The 786 fib, which is always an important level to be aware of. So who knows? This thing could fly up all the way to 135 if you are in the trade, or if you manage to catch it after we finish. Let's see on the 5-minute world what we were looking for. What I'm looking for, let me take a look at the other chart, is probably this pullback continuation, as I said. All right, or otherwise, what I said at the very beginning is actually either preferably a move down to the fib, which is not going to happen probably, or a break of this top, then a few hour consolidation, and then take the next break when we already broke this top. something similar to this, to be honest. Here, this is a perfect example where we broke a bigger top right in here. That's the day chart we broke with an impulse. We broke it, then we had a massive sideways move, which spelled, of course, that upside, which happened. And the first, one of the better trades you can take is actually after it breaks and you get a few hours sideways and then you get that impulse. That was one of the better ones right in here. That something is also what I'll be looking for in here. Or if maybe that pullback continuation as well, right? Although we are getting quite close to this top, but so be careful of that top, that you have some space to the top as well. All right. But euro definitely, just to summarize, massive upside momentum, and we can't ignore the power of the market here and the likelihood of a break of this top. That is very probable and very high, that chance, and it's just, those are clues that we can take in our analysis and understand that increases the likelihood of a break so much. If you have a very slow move up, very choppy, then we could expect bigger resistance and a move down here. But because of that impulse, that chance is a lot lower. It's always possible, but a lot lower. And when we break this top, then we have a confirmation of the top broken, and then we should see continuation, even higher chance of continuation to this target. And who knows, maybe this minus 618, which is also equal to the 786, right, at 135. All right, that's the euro. Pound dollar was basically the same, right? Just a quick summary. But the only difference is that it made a bit of a bigger correction. That's because the euro pound was correcting. But it too might find support right at this trend line that we have on this chart right now. All right, so that wraps it up. Let me see if there are any questions. Is that BBC in weekly? We're looking at the Euro CAD. Okay, sorry. Let me just scoot over here. Weekly chart. Weekly chart, we're making higher highs and higher lows. So that's the uptrend on my long-term strategy, right? We actually, if we zoom in, you can see we tested that low this week. You see that? But we didn't break it, and we're moving up. So that's quite bullish. We had a huge wick, yes, but we didn't break this low, and we're moving up. So it looks like this rejection wasn't powerful enough to send it lower, at the moment at least. Still want to be careful of this top, though, right? Definitely. But my strategy on the long term, yeah, it looks like a break, pullback, continuation. It does on the weekly. It does indeed. Break, pullback. Well, we still need the continuation, don't we? Right? But that would be actually the entry, the long-term strategy. Indeed, good point. What I would be looking for on this would be here, risk would be here, and the target would be the fib. Fibs, preferably 618 at least. And then I have some trade management I actually forgot to tell you. When you hit the minus 618, sorry about that, I move it to +1, the trade, by the way, and I'm aiming for higher fibs. If I reach minus 1,000, I trail stop it by stopping it by using the daily lows, and I always trail stop it by using fractals on the day chart. Sorry about that. So once again, first target minus 618, I take a third off. The other 2/3 I aim for higher targets. For example, minus 1,000, take another third off. Minus 168, maybe take the entire trade off. But I trail stop it always with fractals, and when I hit the minus 1,000, I trail stop it by using the daily lows, not to give too much profit back. So yeah, let's see. Well, anyhow, this would have been an entry right here, right, as well. This one as well here. And then the next one would be here, but with a different stop loss still. So let's see how that EuroCAD, but a good observation, Kaden, definitely. Let's see if we can break it. We're getting close on this EuroCAD. It's 50 pips away, so soon enough we'll find out if we can break it. Um, all right. Thanks, Stefan and Daryl. Thank you so much. I hope that others learned as well. I'm very glad that you found it, that you learned from it. I think that's, massively important and really appreciate that. So a pity about the euro. Maybe I should have had more patience. Oh well. What can you do? Da, 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 da. Let's see if we get the. Hopefully we can join, or I can join, and you can join as well. If you want, of course, a bit later on, if we see a good setup. But would be cool because this euro is very very nice. I think for the upside. Just a question of how and when. It's a pity it took this took so long to turn. Otherwise, I would have had the patience. If I would have seen the impulse, at least a candle like this, to be honest, I would have had it. I would have felt comfortable with it. But when the pound was starting moving down and I saw this, I really felt a bit uncomfortable with it. And I was actually thinking that it could happen the same like last week, that we get like this and then we get upside, which happened last week. Took our stop loss and then a big upside. So anyhow, nothing wrong with that. We can still wait for, as I said, wait for that PBC or the bigger 1 hour sideways move like this. All right, goody good. Any questions? Guess not. I don't see any. Good. So I hope to see you tomorrow, same time at 7:45 British time, Wednesday, the 12th of June. I wish you good trading in the meantime, and looking forward to the next session. And yeah, I guess that wraps it up. Alrighty. No questions popping in there. Give just a minute maybe, or a few seconds here still if someone's typing, just in case. I don't know. Let's see. In the meantime, we have 50. We had 70 at the start, so 20. I think so, something like that. Any other questions? I don't think so. So yeah, luckily most stayed, so good sign. No one was bored, hopefully. If that's what you're measuring. No, just kidding. Hope not. Alrighty, I don't see any questions. So great. Let's hope that tomorrow we get that London Open trade, and I hope that we can catch this euro dollar upside. I hope it pauses sometime soon and we get that PBC. Alrighty? Good. So thanks everyone, and see you tomorrow. Cheers.
The organizer has